is MAGA's next generation are based, as leaked DM chat shows the Republicans' future, folks. You know what the future of the Republican Party is? And yes, I'm going to say this before the minute mark. I'm taking a risk. Do you know what the future of the Republican Party is, according to the Young Republicans DM group? Quote, I love Hitler, unquote. Literally. Literally. While I share my screen, Jose knows a bit about this topic. He can provide some context. So take it away, Jose.
Okay, so basically what happened is the Young Republicans got caught with a Telegram chat where there was a lot of that sort of inner locker room talk. It's the kind of chats that you would see probably if you've had group chats. Any normal person has a group chat. You know, people make spicy jokes. They make spicier jokes than they would publicly on a panel show like this because of YouTube's terms of service, or even on Rumble because the CEO might get butthurt if you make a mean joke. But you know, it's a lot of self-depreciating humor. It's a lot of jokes like calling, the Nissan Americans the watermelon Americans instead. Also, the term basketball Americans is completely acceptable. Or as the term that my parents used to use, the Democrats. Just call them Democrats. Now, that's how often they vote for Democrats. Now, the problem is that, of course, people got upset. This came out, oh, it's egregious, it's terrible. But it was leaked to Politico by someone who was part of the Young Republican organization in and of itself. So this was a guy probably trying to get rid of his own opponents within the party. I believe it was Gavin Wax who was alleged to have leaked this out to the media. And of course, that leads to everybody going into damage control. Denounce. Oh, it's terrible that they said this. They try to paint Hitler in a positive light. Oh, this is because of that dastardly Nick Fuentes. Let's ban him on Spotify and all sorts of nonsense like that. But at the end of the day, J.D. Vance came in swinging. He came out swinging and said, look, I'm not upset at locker room talk. I'm not upset about what people say in a Call of Duty lobby. What I'm upset about is that when the other side says, and I quote, I want to see that person's children ended, y'all got nothing to say about it, because there was a Democrat AG candidate who basically said that they wanted someone's children to die so that they would understand the gun control stance. And that's completely okay by the media. But, oh, no, you can't make a joke about the German painter, which is funny because, 20 years ago when I was young, you can make German painter jokes all the hell you wanted. South Park made them all the time. The Office made them all the time. The media was constantly making. Seinfeld was making German painter jokes. All right, yeah. I had a German painter Animal Crossing town just to see if I could get away with it. And it was okay, but suddenly there's this pearl clutching about jokes, comments.
Do you know what that settlement was called? It was called Berlin at its peak. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of Meteorite, which is a very interesting name for a news outlet. Quote, leaked Young Republicans group chat includes racial slurs based, Hitler praise based. Quote, if we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked, also based. Now, I can tell you from my mentor, folks, who is in quite a few DM groups with quite a few prominent creators on X, this sentiment is shared almost universally. If it ever got leaked.
I want to say one more thing about this, and that's, you know what? I don't want politicians who have to filter their words every 5 seconds to be in charge of us. I want I think shit posters are the only people qualified to be in the political space. So if anything, instead of firing these guys, I think they should be promoted.
Indeed. But what we're going to do, folks, is that we're going to do a more traditional panel perspective, and we're going to go left to right, and we're going to start off with Noise and make our way across, because I know Byron doesn't have a lot more time. He actually has to work, poor bastard. Noise, what do you make of this situation?
I don't know. I think they were saying things in chat just because they could for a reaction. I don't think that's their genuine beliefs. I mean, some of them might lean that way, but I think they were just going for a reaction. Like we often do on these shows, we say things we don't mean, and sometimes we might say way out there things that we do mean, but for the most part, it's just for the fun, for the reaction, and of course they're gonna take it and run with it.
All righty then. Well, what about you, Elijah? Do you share your boyfriend slash groupie's perspective?
Well, I know how people like to take things out of context on a lot of these kinds of things. And all the information needs to be up front before people demonize someone for. To me, it seems like they're just saying things just to get a rise out of people, just like an inside joke kind of thing. So, I mean, that's just my take on it.
Oh, from the reactions I've seen, ladies and gentlemen, and I've seen this from moderates as well as radicals who are, let's say, anti-left. I don't think the mainstream Republican Party has any idea how right-wing younger people are, how politically polarized younger people are. If you are under 25 in the United States, you're either far left or far right, based on the European perspective. I know it's different in the US, but there are not many young moderates in the USA. Let's just put it that way, okay? And they're going to be in for an awakening because these people are starting to enter the not just the institutions but also the workplaces, the engine of the economy. And JD Vance, who is in a mixed race relationship and has a lot of influence in a company named after a tool Saruman used to get corrupted. He knows what those people are like because he's got a finger on the pulse of the young generation. That he's like a bridge between the two factions. So I think it's very important to point that out. Byron, while you're still here, what do you make of this topic in question?
Well, Jose, I think, put it quite beautifully and brilliantly when he said it seems like this was leaked in a political move by someone with a deeply political mindset of, okay, I'm going to try and use this material to shank someone who is within my own group who I want to get a step above. It really is kind of telling that there's all these calls to condemn everyone involved in the conversation group for what they said, these naughty words, when Jay Jones, the Attorney General candidate in Virginia who Jose was referring to, making these statements to a fellow Republican in the House of Delegates of Virginia, calling for the murder of not only a political rival, but that rival's children. Yet all of the major Democrat Party backers of Jones have yet to say that he should drop the fuck out of the race. It's you're allowed to only go so far, but we're allowed to wish for and actively plan your demise and the death of your children, who, by the way, we wish you would have aborted in the womb to begin with so they couldn't breathe the clean air of life from the start. I'm not going to take a moral lecture from a group of people whose average voting bloc were dancing and celebrating on college campuses and in the streets at the public assassination of a non-political candidate speaking on behalf of the other side of the aisle. You can get fucked. Suck the biggest bunch of hydrogen that you can and light a match. I will glory in the result afterwards. You don't get to sit there and say, well, you should completely condemn anything and everything said by the people in this group. By the way, we're going to still go line up to put money into the coffers of a guy or gal who says your children should be sterilized, your entire party should be euthanized or removed from the earth through violent means. But we get to do that, and you should apologize and bow and scrape and grovel for our approval. Get fucked.
And Byron's sentiments are shared by the majority of anti-left wing, not just content creators, but also people in the United States.
Bear in mind, I have rarely considered myself anyone who is radically in one direction or the other. But
Mhm.
watching over the course of the last 10 to 12 years, as the Overton window of allowability and acceptable action against your socio-political or geopolitical opponents has been dragged kicking and screaming to the left into the kind of tactics that were utilized by Mao's Red Guard. As far as Ryan's earlier historical reference to Antifa and they're being used by German painter or sorry Austrian painter and his party, I would liken them more akin to Mao's Red Guard or Revolutionary Guard, who as soon as they were seen as too revolutionary, they were put against the wall and they reduced their ammunition stockpile one bullet at a time into the back of these people's heads. This is exactly what these people will do. They want you kicking and flailing and saying, please approve of us and let us be in the conversation. They don't want you in the conversation. They want you 6 feet underground. And that's if we're being nice about it. Otherwise, they're going to dig one big pit to throw all of you in when they're done dealing with you.
And folks, I got to tell you this right here, right now. Byron makes a fantastic point on how the opposition operate. We shouldn't be pearl clutching because they are full of dangerous extremists. And folks, Gavin Newsom ain't going to beat this. Camel Toe Harris isn't going to beat this. This is going to, for all of his faults in being in league with Palantir and having an Indian wife, this is the next president of the United States. I'm calling it
also,
right now.
He's got some excellent debate skills. There's that. So, I mean,
Byron,
he's going to eviscerate whoever he's up against.
We're going to get Byron's final thoughts on this topic, then we'll go to Jose.
Well, I gave my thoughts, really. I just needed to say I need to be going. Thank you for letting me hop in here last minute.
Sure.
I said I wouldn't be around for long, but hey, I managed to stick in for this long. I'm going to get going. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me on, for listening to me spurg out, as it were. Always remember, read, because people are fucking illiterate these days.
Good to see you,
Made
man.
in America.
Take it easy,
ladies
man.
and gentlemen. Have a good workplace, and hopefully none of your colleagues ever watch this show. But, but what about...
Trust me, they already know what I'm like, because I have to deal with me.
They probably know, yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Damn.
They're aware.
They're all. You have a good night now or day because it's bright there. Jose, what about you? What do you make of this whole situation, especially Vance's response?
Well, my thing about it is the people who are pearl clutching about this, I want to see what their group chats look like. Because again, I'm sure they're 10 times worse than anything they are condemning. I'm sure they advocate violence, death, the shocking of dogs. That's something that we've been hearing about the past couple weeks. All right. So I don't want to hear them sitting around pearl clutching about some spicy jokes. All right. Because these are the same people who said, oh, it's just jokes. It's just jokes. It's just jokes. Every time that they got called to the mat for some of the things that they were saying about Charlie Kirk, some of the depictions of Charlie Kirk after the tragedy that befell him. I think that J.D. Vance, speaking out about it, he does have his finger on the pulse of this a lot more as a younger man. Most of the political candidates are like 60 and over. They are the ones that pearl clutch when they see a meme. Oh, my God, you shouldn't say that on the internet. They don't understand the culture. J.D. Vance grew up with South Park, Pokemon, and all the stuff that we kind of grew up around. So he's well positioned to say, "Hey, no, I'm not gonna apologize for this. I don't think there should be an apology for this." And that's what needs to happen publicly by somebody. Thank God it's the vice president to try to push the Overton window back the other direction. Because you know what?
Well, I was just going to make the point now. We're just going to assume Gavin Newsom's going to win the Democratic primary, folks. Just an assumption, because who's going to let Camel Toe run a second time?
Every time you lose a Powerball ticket, Gavin Newsom's pocketing that money because California gets a lot of that cash. All right.
Oh, damn! But he's not a boomer, is he? He looks like the Joker, but let's just say Vance versus Newsom. It's going to be the first presidential election with no boomer candidate, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Noise polluted.